Greetings, class of 2013. Today is an auspicious day. It is May 4th, National Star Wars Appreciation with a Lisp Day. May the 4th be with you. Here are two critical words of advice that I wish desperately had been given to me back in the Mesozoic period when I was sitting where you are sitting this very morning. Ready? Stay here. Let's face it. Do you really want to venture out into a world in which Honey Boo Boo Child and Lindsay Lohan have greater name recognition than our Secretary of State? Are any of you looking forward to joining a country in which some states categorize coal mining debris as fill rather than waste so it can be legally dumped into our nation's rivers and lakes? The fact is, the 10 hottest years in human history have occurred in your lifetime. The Arctic ice cap is melting. A quarter of the Earth's species will be extinct in 50 years. And so far, not one single television network has taken me up on my big idea of putting the American Idol finalists on Fear Factor and seeing just what they will eat for a recording contract. Our Earth is a great spinning gumball covered with war, famine, disease, and indescribably bad television. Moreover, the worst is yet to come, yet another all-star celebrity apprentice in which Donald Trump finally fires the guy who spray paints his hair. How many of you have read a novel in the past 12 months? How many of you have read 2? Well, you are the medieval monks of the digital age. Here are some actual statistics about reading in America from the National Endowment for the Arts. 57% of American adults had read at least one novel in the previous 12 months in 1982. In 2008, only 50% had. But here's what I find unbelievably interesting. In 2002, only 43% of adults 18 to 24, adults your age, were reading fiction. In 2008, the number had skyrocketed to 52%. And while the biggest thanks for that spike go to a whole lot of teenage vampires, thank you, Stephanie Meyer, the fact is, your generation is reading. Your generation is turning pages and scrolling through tablets and finding fiction on your phones. My point, if I could trade places with you and sit where you are right now, I would in a heartbeat. I'm kidding. Of course, obviously, I don't really think you should stay here. As a matter of fact, I want you all to go forth into the world and get jobs. After all, if you are not working, there will be no Social Security left for my wife and me when we turn 65. So, I can't tell you how happy I was when President Feeney shared with me the employment statistics of the Champlain College class of 2013. I sometimes allude to how old and bald I feel on occasion. But the reality is that it wasn't all that long ago that I got to do what many of you are doing today, and that is to wear nothing but Nikes and boxer shorts underneath my commencement robe. Actually, that's not completely true. I did not wear sneakers to my college graduation. And these days, I actually like to lounge around the house in precisely this get-up Hogwarts commencement chic. And today is your commencement, and you should take great pride in that, in what you have accomplished in your years here at Champlain College. Of course, because this is a commencement, That means you all have to endure hearing from me the most loathsome construction that can be made from any 5 words in the English language. When I was your age, here goes. When I was your age, I was deciding whether to sue a beer company because in the days before my commencement, a beer keg exploded in the dormitory in the living room that I shared with my 3 roommates. I was 21, and I saw a world filled with inestimable promise when I gazed upon the shattered glass and the wall and the chair in which I was sitting, because now it looked like a serial killer had used it to sharpen his knives. And so while many of my fellow seniors were wasting their time preparing for final exams, my roommates and I were asking a lawyer to represent us in a lawsuit against a company whose annual sales dwarf the state of Vermont's annual budget. We, of course, had the belief in ourselves shared by all college graduates that we could do anything. And so we decided we would represent ourselves. Especially after a lawyer told us that his costs would rival a year of college. Besides, we thought it was an open and shut case. One of my roommate's older brothers was a McDonald's refrigerator repairman, and he built us a keg cooler. Students were not allowed to have kegs or keg coolers in their rooms, but because we were seniors, we decided we were exempt. One night, someone pumped up the pressure in the keg. He pumped it up a lot. The next day, while I was in the easy chair that we had bought for $5 and smelled like feet, the cork in the keg side wanted to pop, but couldn't because it was trapped by the metal drum of the keg cooler. And so the contraption exploded. When the dean of students surveyed the damage, he informed my roommates and me that we would have to shoulder the repair costs. Consequently, we wrote the beer company hinting at legal action if they didn't pay for the damage, and we were confident that we had scared the heck out of them. A week later, we saw precisely how frightened they were. They sent a guy our age to meet with us, and the conversation went something like this. Beer guy. So the college does not allow kegs or keg coolers in dormitories, right? Us? Well, yeah. Beer guy. And the cork would have popped out of the keg if you hadn't wedged the illicit keg into your illicit keg cooler, correct? Us? Well, yeah. Beer guy? Okay, bye. The lesson here. Distinguished educator Derek Bach was onto something when he said, if you think education is expensive, just try ignorance. Though what I think what he really meant was, if you think education is expensive, just try paying for the damage caused by an illicit, illegal, exploding keg cooler. In truth, the problem wasn't that I wasn't reading enough Turgenev or Pushkin or George Eliot when I was your age, because I was. The problem is that I probably don't read enough of them now, at middle age. Now, if you do not want to go get high-paying jobs so Social Security is something better than an ice cube's chance in hell of existing in a couple of decades, then at the very least, please go out and change the world. No pressure. But this world is so muddied right now. Your elders have screwed things up so mind-numbingly, inspirationally, preternaturally badly that you have to try. Heaven knows there are plenty of places to begin. The problem is that genocide, hunger, pollution, terrorism, our nation's absolute inability to initiate meaningful gun control or formulate an energy policy that makes any sense at all seem like such unconquerably high peaks that sometimes it actually does make us all want to cocoon in our tents, to stay here. Let's see. What should I do tonight? Find a replacement for fossil fuel or watch Game of Thrones? It is good. Write a poem that will probably never be published, but if it were, might remind people that what binds us is far more important than what separates us. Or watch Duck Dynasty. or Dancing with the Stars, or my personal favorite, Dancing with the Duck Dynasty. You have to try, despite the fact that inertia is easy, and cynicism is easy, and disregard is easy. It is easy to be jaded. It is easy to be callous. It is easy to be tired. So, here's some advice, and this time it's not mine, so it might actually have some merit. It comes from the novelist Ian McEwan, well known for Atonement and Amsterdam and Enduring Love. He is immensely gifted and wise, and trust me, if he were here with you today instead of me, he would not be telling you tales of exploding beer kegs. The McEwan advice comes through his 19-year-old character, Theo Perrone, in his novel, Saturday. Theo is roughly a fictional peer of yours. He's not too much younger than all of you, and like so many of you, he's very, very wise. Early into the novel, Theo offers his father an aphorism. The bigger you think, the crappier it looks. When his father asks for his elaboration, he offers, when we go on about the big things, the political situation, global warming, world poverty, it all looks really terrible, with nothing getting better, nothing to look forward to. But when I look small, closer in, then it looks great. So this is going to be my motto. Think small. Indeed, some of you may do great things on a big scale and become MacArthur Fellows, pioneering research scientists, humanitarian leaders. Some of you may actually figure out how to get the road salt off my lawn before Memorial Day. One of you may be the second Vermonter to win the Nobel Peace Prize. There is, however, nothing wrong in changing the world one child, one family, one neighborhood at a time. If nothing else, it may keep you sane in a world that more times than not seems bloody certifiable. And will even that be easy? Of course not. But here's what will be easy. You can't possibly do a worse job than my generation. You can't possibly do a worse job than the generations that came before us. When I was sitting where you are, I was surrounded by people who anticipated making documentaries about the downtrodden and starting shelters for the homeless and writing musicals that would make people forget Andrew Lloyd Webber. Some of them chose instead to become lawyers at very large multinational corporations that don't care a twit about the third world as anything more than a profit center. But not all. Not all. Some really have gone to places where there is famine, where there is poverty, where there is plague, and they haven't gone far. Others are the school teachers and the social workers and the nurses who change the world one student, one foster child, one patient at a time. We don't read about them in our alumni magazines, but they make a difference in the universe that is incalculable. There's an old Ben & Jerry's bumper sticker that always frustrated me. If it's not fun, why do it? Make no mistake, I love Ben & Jerry's, and I love all that they have done, so I give them a mulligan, a do-over, a pass on this one. The Ben & Jerry's Foundation is a force of nature for good. But the fact is, the world needs you to do lots of things that are not fun. Do you think it is fun to change a patient's catheter? Do you think it's fun to be a victim's rights advocate at the Edward J. Costello Courthouse down on Church Street, meeting day after day with battered women? Do you think it's fun to be Rita Markley of COTS, working 24/7 to champion the homeless and find them shelter? Or Mark Redmond of Spectrum, sleeping outside with some of you at the Unitarian Church to raise awareness of the work his organization does with teens? Or Spectrum's Annie Romanciano, helping people younger than you win their wars with substance abuse? Look, Rita is fun. Mark is fun. Annie is fun. I know them all, and they love their jobs. But continue, as you have here at Champlain, to be brave and accept that life is not an ice cream cone. Moreover, there's something more meaningful than what we do. It's who we are. There's something lovely to be said for knowing that, if nothing else, you can have writ large on your tombstone in 60 years any or all of the following. Tried like hell to be a good dad. Loved her children madly. Was always there for his family. Made time for the people she loved. Walked lightly on the planet. Never left a room without telling her family she loved them. Remembered on occasion to say thank you for the small pleasures that can fill a life. Took the time to read Turgenev. Was grateful, was decent, was kind. I've sold a pretty good number of books in my lifetime. But the reality is that isn't what will go on my tombstone when I die or represent my legacy. Because it really is the small things that comprise a life, those moments that are transcendent because you are with someone you love or have surprised yourself with a haphazard, completely arbitrary deed that has given someone else, and thus you too, an unexpected moment of grace. That is my daughter's name, incidentally, Grace. Her middle name is Experience, and she goes by Grace Experience. Grace, the gift which we are all given at birth, and experience, that which we earn every day of our lives. All of you have worked hard the past 4 years. Some of you have. Your professors have told me who hasn't. But if you're wearing your cap and gown now, it doesn't matter. You're getting out. You're getting out with a diploma, experience, and a measure of grace. You can't stay here, and I'm grateful. Because once more, this great spinning gumball has reason for hope, for renewal, for rejuvenation. And so, speaking as a guy from a generation that still doesn't quite get it, I congratulate you, I applaud you, but more than that, I thank you. This is your world now. Live it, love it, heal it. God bless you all.